In this video, I'm going to modify a Walther's water tower. It could be a little better. Actually, all I've done is I spray painted it brown with primer. Then I stopped because I'm not real fond of the base. It doesn't really match the town that I'm putting it in. But I like the water tank, and I like the ladder, and I like the railing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this base off. I'm going to keep everything that I said I like, and I'm going to make a tower out of wood. This video won't be about making trestle beds. I already did a video on that a couple of weeks ago. So you can review that video on how to make them. I'm basically going to make them up off camera. This video is just to show you other things that you can do with trestle beds. Besides making a pier, a trestle bridge, you could also make a smaller one to hold up a water tower. I'm going to make 2 of these trestle beds of a different size. This width at the top, about 1 inch. So I'm going to need to make 2 of these. So it's going to go like this. But then the 2 ends, I'll have to build them while it's standing to connect these 2 together. So what I'll do off camera is I'll make the 2 end trestle vents, and then on camera I will make the portion that connects the 2. What I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to cut this off probably about right there, so that I keep this portion to give it something to fasten to the top of the trestle vent. So let's get started. Alright, I've got that disconnected from the stand. I just gotta snap this off, hopefully. Okay, that came off. So for now, I think I'll pull this out. Now this is what I had in mind. The new tower is going to fit in like that. I like to do all my measurements with an HO scale ruler. From inside to inside, we've got 7.5 feet. Let's see if they're all the same. That's 7.5. That one's actually 8 feet. I'm just gonna go 7.5 feet. Okay, 7.5 feet. So I can cheat a little bit here using a trestle bent that I already made. So what I'll do is I'll line it up using the top piece as a guide. So let me get this drawn. That's our top. So now, let's find the center. So half of 7.5 feet would be 3 feet 9 inches. So we found the center. So what I'll do is I'll take my little square here. Yeah, there we go. And now I can draw a guideline in the center. Let's see, a skewer length. It's 42.5 feet. So I'm going to measure down. $42.5 feet. 42.5 feet. I'll hold it at the bottom. That's 1 inch and 3/16 right there. 1 inch 3/16. We have the same angle on both sides. Go. Okay. Let me make my template. Alright, there's my template. For more details on how I make these, go ahead and check out my previous video on it. So I'm going to lay these out. So now we need to decide where we're going to put our cap and our two sills. The cap I'm going to let sit down a little bit. I want a little bit sticking up at the top because that is going to slide into this portion right here to hold the tank up. So I'm going to go one width of a stir stick, and I've already marked that. If I come down, that would be about right there. So that's where the bottom of the sill is going to be, and that's where the top is going to be. So I've determined that part. I know that the tip of the coffee stir stick is going to stick into the foam. Right there is going to be about the bottom of my tower, of my post. These are my 3 posts. So I need 3 equal portions between here and here. I need to find 2 spots to put my sills. So what I decided on is 10.5 feet. Coming from the bottom of my top sill, I got 10.5, 10.5. Measure from the bottom of that, 10.5, that meets the ground. Now for my sills, I'm gonna need to cut. I think I'm just gonna go 15 feet. That won't be 2 feet, that'd be more like 1.5 feet that it sticks out. I'm gonna cut 8 sills at 15 feet. And then I'm gonna cut 8 sills at 13 feet. And then I'm gonna need 8 caps at 9.5 feet. So I'm gonna get those cut up. All right, I am gonna glue on my sill, and I'm gonna glue on my top cap. And for this, I'm using Tight Bond. So I'm gonna start off by doing the cap. So I've cut 8 of these. And that's just gonna go right about like that. And you can check the alignment. Now I'm gonna do the next sill. And of course I've cut 8 of these as well. And the last sill from the ground. So now I'm gonna need to cut my cross braces. And I'm gonna need 8 of each type. One there, one for the back side going the other direction, all the way around. And then this one's of course a different size, but same concept. Basically, I'm just gonna eyeball it. Right, so that's my cut. Alright, I'll start by gluing on my cross braces on the top here. I am gonna use a stick here to guide my gluing. Now we want our cross braces on one side to be going the same direction. Alright, so now I'll put my pieces on the back side, starting with the cap. Then I'll do my top sill. Okay, so there's the first one. Now I'll make one more just like it. You're gonna want to need to pick a side on each of these. It's going to be your inside piece. Where your cross brace overlaps the post, you're going to want to trim that back a little bit, because your strut is going to go like that. You only need to do one on each of your inside pieces, one for each level. There. There was nothing to cut here. This is the inside piece of this one. Right there. So I cut that one and that one just a little bit. Nothing to cut on that side. So now we need to start building three-dimensionally. I decided I'm going to use my helping hands for soldering to hold my bents in place while I get them all lined up. And then I got to glue these on up at the top as well. Did a test fit here to make sure that's going to go in there, because once you glue that, it's going to be not flexible. Let me get some glue and we'll glue each of these pieces in place. I'll let them dry a significant amount before I move on. So I'm going to go ahead and put my bottom strut right here, and then when I flip it over, I'll do this side. I'm also going to go ahead and put a couple of cross braces. One here. One here. And one there. There. That's good. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit more, and then I should be ready to flip it over and do the other side. This is where having a hobby mat with a grid on it comes in really handy, because you can get that aligned really square before you get it all glued together. Now I've already glued this piece on and this piece on and this piece. See, I've got my bracing doubled up down there, front and back. I'm gonna do the same thing on the bottom. This is the last piece. All the heavy work is done. What I know I'm also going to have to do is cut the centerpiece right there and right there, because the tank, the bottom of it is a bowl. So I need to cut that back and that back in order to get it to sit all the way down on these 4 corner posts. First, I have to let this dry a little bit more before I go hitting with the Dremel tool. Let's do a test fit. All right. So that's what it's gonna look like. So now, next step is to do a little painting. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail in this video about how I paint my trestles, because I literally just did it 2 weeks ago in my video about building trestle beds. The process is identical. We want to end up with this. A nice grayed, weathered trestle. So, but I will summarize. First thing I do is I put a watered down brown as my first coat, and then I do the same watered down black. Actually, the black is pretty dominant, so I water it down about double the amount of water that I do for the watering down the brown. And then I do a watered down gray, very slight, maybe just a little more water than the brown. And then I do a dark green. So you're gonna mix green with black in the same ratio as watering it down as the brown. That's going to be your final coat. The green and the black, the dark green mixed together. That's going to be your final coat, and that is the coat that you're going to want to go over it really fine. The first 3 coats can be pretty sloppy, haphazard, just brush everywhere you see needs paint. Final coat, spend some time on it. So, here we go. I'm going to paint. I'll be back. And there it is, all painted. I didn't exactly paint the top separately. What I was doing is I was just throwing the paint on the tank as I was doing the sides. What I do want to do is I want to put a nice L on the top because the town name is Laurel. I got these dry press-on letters, and I believe that L is just going to be right about the right size that I want. Right there. It's not a fancy L, but it doesn't have to be. I'm just doing one L. And since that L is on the end there, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So I don't have to be fussing with this big sheet. Okay. There's no going back with these. You got to get it right the first time. I think right about there would be good. So, okay. So now we've got a big L on our water tower for Laurel. What I'm gonna do, I've got this paint that's really good for rust streaks. I've used it before. I think I used it before in a video. I can't remember which one, but basically, just put a little bit on your brush. Shake it up real good. Put a little bit on your brush. And then you want to kind of dry brush it on. And make sure that brush is good and dry because it's the same brush I used to paint. I got just a little bit on the tip there. And let's see. So rust is going to want to come from the top down. So I'm just going to go all the way around it. Just like that. A little more. Okay, and I think I'll put a little bit of rust on down the sides there. Do I want to put any over the L? Doing it. There. Okay. Now I have a small piece of railing that came off. I will fix that as soon as I find it. It went onto the floor. And there it is. That is where it's going to go. Okay. I can't do anything without adding LEDs. I feel like the L is too dark and that I need a light. I've got these micro LEDs. Just gotta kind of figure out where would be the best place to put it. Seems like right there would be the best place. Kind of hide it. That would require taking the roof off. So another way I could hide those wires, instead of running them behind there, I have just a regular drinking straw. I would leave this as a way to kind of help hold it in place, but then I'd still be able to get the wires through the straw. It'd just be a thicker pipe running through there, which wouldn't be so unheard of. I'll paint the straw the same color as the tank. Okay, not necessary to take the roof off. What I need to do, I need to drill a small hole right there. That's where the LED is going to stick out, and then I can take this out. That's going to be hard to get to, but somehow I'm going to need to do a larger hole here, large enough to receive this straw, and hopefully be able to fish the leads from the LED through. Okay, I've got my smallest drill bit. Let me get a drill bit that is exactly the size, just a little bit smaller than the straw. Okay, the straw has been spray painted and now it's drying. I'm putting a 470 ohm resistor on the LED to kind of dim it down just a little bit, make that LED last a little longer. Then I'm going to put your blue and white wire. That is code on my track for 3-volt bus. Okay, I've added my LED. Gonna do one more thing to it. I'm gonna put a little cover on the front of that LED to have the light kind of dissipating down, reflecting down. There's this straw in the center, and the wiring goes through it and down under the table. I will have more episodes where I show you more about doing LEDs. In fact, you can see I'm very fond of LEDs. Pretty much everything I do has to have an LED of some sort. Next week, as a matter of fact, I will be adding LEDs to either this car or this car. Put headlights on them and tail lights. So you'll get to see that process next week. All right, let me make that little cover to go on the front of that LED. We'll see if it actually looks good when I do it. Okay. All right, so I have these little lamps, plastic shades that go on another model that I didn't use them on. So what I think I'll do is I will just use them on the top of the water tower. Okay, so that lampshade is just super glued to the top of that LED, just to the back side of it. So it dissipates the light when you're looking at it from up the top, but when you're down at the bottom, there it is, you can see it, it's a lamp. And of course, my camera's making it out to be a lot brighter than it really is. So there you go. One water tower. Okay, one tiny little addition. If you can see it. A little raven perched on top of the lamp. Raven I got from Mini Prints. So he'll be watching over the town. One more fine tune. I lowered that lamp just a little bit So the wires, the LED wires, were actually long enough that I could pull it out just a little bit to act as a pipe that is holding that lamp shade. So it looks better there than it did. With a Walther's water tower with a custom wooden base. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. And like I said, next week we'll be adding some LEDs to one of these cars. Okay, have a good week, and I'll see you next week.